Hello, it's Isekai Defense Force Commander Jade here once again, but I'm talking about Gate, so, maybe not exactly the most pleasing instance of your beloved commander showing up. But we're here to talk about why it's dumb, and I'll tell you why it's dumb. So Gate, thus the JSDF fought there, is a light novel written by, or it started out as a light novel, but then got an anime adaptation. And it's written by Jieitai Kano Chi, an alleged Japanese nationalist. So we've already got this really interesting beginning to everything. Is like this really strange. The best way to describe this series is that it's kind of like conservative pornography, but for Japanese conservatives. It's weird, but it's also very fascinating. The story centers around the JSDF, or Japanese Self-Defense Force, doing an exposition into another world, which makes it an isekai, yeah! After a gate opens up in the middle of Ginza, Tokyo, and our main character, Itami Yuji, goes off and bees this hero man person and helps save the day or whatever in the first 2 episodes anyway, which is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the clash between the fantasy armies that appear in the first 2 episodes and the JSDF and how they really fucked that shit up. I find it to be super annoying what they did, and we'll get into this right now.
Let's do this.
Okay, so the first episode begins with our main character, Itami, heading over to an event for his generic mobile game that charges him shitty-ass microtransactions, alright? And then our mysterious discount Romans appear from the gate in Ginza, right? The reason why you can tell they're discount Romans is just based on the armor that they've got. They've got the large rectangular shield, which I had to look up the name for it. It's called a scutum, right? And they're just there with their fucking army, and they just start rushing in and killing people indiscriminately. I have a huge fucking issue with this because it makes no sense. Obviously, if you think about it, the whole point of this is just to give the JSDF a pretense to fucking invade the other side of the gate, right? But we have to look at it from the logic of within the story of why would they do this, right? And yeah, why would they do this? It makes no fucking sense. What exactly do they gain from killing innocent people? And a little bit later on, you find out, you see one of the commanding officers is, there on his horse, and he's like, I have no idea where the fuck we are. I'm like, why are you killing people then? It's so bizarre and nonsensical. But one thing that rubbed me the wrong way about the way the army was behaving is, they're obviously supposed to be bargain bin Romans, right? But they behave, or their military strategy looks nothing like it. It's so disorganized and based around just charging ahead and murdering as many people. It just feels like obviously our writer wanted something to have they wanted the empire, this mythical empire, to have the aesthetic of the Romans, but he didn't put any effort into actually making them like the Romans as far as their military strategy goes, right? You look at how disorganized the main force is, and to give you an idea of what actual Roman military strategy was like, I'll read you a little passage from romanmilitary.net. So at the very top of the page, when you get on the site, it has a little paragraph called Formations of the Legion. The entire formation of the Roman infantry tactics was the idea that by keeping troops in order, one could fight more effectively. Most military commanders of the day simply had their troops rush wildly at the enemy. Kind of like, what they had our pseudo-Romans do, right? Relying on superior numbers, better soldiers, or luck to carry the day. The Romans realized that they could not always rely on these things, so they turned to strategy. Each situation was handled differently. taking into account terrain, the type of strength of the opponent's troops, and the type and strength of the Romans' troops. Here are some common formations and tactics that were organized by the formations, right? Man, that was a mouthful. But here's some pictures to give you an idea of what the fuck Roman battle formations would kind of look like. And you see how organized it is. And if you've played any strategy games where you play as like Romans, or you've seen any like maps kind of showing you what formations look like, it's so organized and orderly. It's got this like rectangular or angular formation to it, and it feels more like pieces moving around on a chessboard than it does like this insane just like bloodbath that we're seeing in Gate, which only exists to make them look fucking stupid, by the way. I'll read you another passage to give you another idea. Here's another formation. When the legion was in transit, a very different arrangement was required. The main part of the cavalry rode up front as a vanguard, followed by the infantry in a long column of cohorts. Behind them came the army's baggage, servants, and vehicles, guarded by several units of cavalry. At the end came the best units of both infantry and cavalry to defend against attacks from the rear. The lighter units were arranged around the edges to act as scouts, right? Which is something that I want to bring up here. The fact that there was no scouting whatsoever that happened here. They showed up and just started killing people for no fucking reason. Like, why? You'd figure they'd at least send out scouts, I don't know, ask people questions, stuff like that. It makes no sense. And when the JSDF shows up, you got the heroic music blaring, and they basically just gun down the opposition, wiping out the troops and whatever. Later on, you have them actually go beyond the gate, and there's another army from the Empire lined up, and they get fucking wiped out too. And it's like, you'd figure they'd stop throwing soldiers into the meat grinder once they found out, hey, we sent guys beyond the gate, and like, they all got fucking killed. So maybe we should back the fuck off? Whatever. It makes no sense. It's like, the only way this works, or this whole situation pans out, is if you assume that the discount Romans are just fucking stupid, right? They're just fucking stupid. They basically have no commanders. They're just a bunch of like random raiders out to like murder and kill for no fucking reason. But I'm repeating myself. Here's another thing that I want you to entertain, right? Throughout the battle, especially in the second episode, we see another army which the Empire fucking tricked into like going and like fighting the JSDF to get rid of them, right? We got this other like joint army force coming in to like challenge the JSDF. They get their asses fucking beat because they just charged at them. Again, just like the other force. But here's the thing that the show never addresses. This is a magical world, right? Then why are the armies operating exactly like what an army in Earth, in the ancient world would operate like? It makes no sense. And we already know that there are magic users. In the very first episode, the main character, Itami, he gets a vision and he sees a sorceress. Right? So we know magic exists in this world. So then why the fuck would magic not be incorporated into the main military force? Why do they just randomly fucking charge at their enemies like fucking idiots? Again, it's just to make the JSDF look good. Here's an example of a series that does this like really fucking well, and that's like Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is a very realistic interpretation of what a setting with magic and like swordsmanship and blah 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 would be like in a military environment. And obviously you've got riding flying beasts and stuff like that. Obviously that's also there in Gate, but I feel like it's so underused. It's not used in the way that you think having having aerial advantage would be used in a setting. Obviously, you'd use that a lot for things like scouting or setting up different areas. You can use flying, you can use like aerial advantage to get to areas that normally would be harder to get to, that can give you an advantage. As poorly as explained as I did right there. But yeah, you get what I'm trying to say, right? Or if you have magic, the sky's the literal fucking limit. Here's an example. In Fire Emblem Three Houses, one of the, the newest, technically it's the newest Fire Emblem game out now, right? One of the first missions in that game involves you going in and trying to like put down this rebellion by this guy, right? And the entire area is filled with mist. And normally that area, according to the information you get in the game, it's not supposed to be according to the season. And you find out by fighting that there are magic users creating this deep fog, and so that the soldiers can use it to their advantage to like get you off guard. And it's like, that's what you would expect magic to be used. That's how you would expect it to be used in a military setting, to set up tactical advantages for an army, as well as if there are things like teleportation magic or long-range communication magic, right? There's the sky's the literal fucking limit. Why would they not incorporate this into their military force? And the only reason why this isn't the case in Jade is because the army, or this fictional army, just exists to get mowed down by fucking machine gun fire. That's what they're there for. They're there to put the JSDF on. Not to be a realistic interpretation of what a fantasy army would actually be like, right? Hell, not even a realistic interpretation of what armies are like in general. It's so bizarre. On one hand, I can get them losing an initial conflict with the JSDF because they don't know anything, right? What makes it stupid is that they don't try to find out anything beforehand. They just charge at their enemies with no consideration whatsoever, right? And this is not like an alien idea this is not a foreign or alien idea to like people who lived in the times way back in the day. After all, we have like Sun Tzu's whole like most quoted quote is know thy enemy and know thyself, and you will not fear losing 100 battles. I think that's the full quote, but basically you get the idea. People understood the importance of strategy on some level, even if in some cases they were like underdeveloped in some areas. But the story doesn't really care about that, or doesn't really care about trying to present these armies in a very interesting way. It's just trying to make the JSDF look good, which goes back to the whole idea that this is a story written by a Japanese nationalist. So when you're watching it, if you ever decide to watch it, personally, I only recommend it if it's for intellectual curiosity, or you want to like analyze it like what I'm doing here. Personally, otherwise, I think that it's just kind of a waste of time. I mean, there are cute girls in other shows if you like these ones or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a basic understanding of like why on like a military level it's bullshit, on top of just like the laziness of the story by not wanting to like actually represent the opposing side in a very accurate or intelligent manner. If you want to learn more about that stuff, especially like, you know, Roman battle formations and military stuff, please like go out, do your own research. It's really fascinating stuff. I highly recommend it. But yeah, thanks for watching this part of the video. There's gonna be another part coming up soon. I don't know exactly when, but I shall release it. I promise, on my honor as the Isekai Defense Force Commander Jade. Well, I'll be seeing ya later.